Welcome to Duo Chat with Brittany and Cynthia, where we talk about drama shows from shows ranging from the 90s to today.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brittany,
And I'm Cynthia.
and today we're talking about season 6, episode 16, titled That Was Then, air date March 26th, 2003. And the synopsis is
Hudson orders Joey to babysit Harley to make sure she does her homework. But Joey ends up serving as relationship counselor when she finds Harley's boyfriend Patrick hiding in the house and he starts to flirt with Joey. Meanwhile, Dawson pays a visit to Mr. Gold's class at Capeside High and talks about how it is to be working in LA. Pacey also returns to Capeside when his father is admitted to the hospital after suffering a heart attack.
so. I just gotta say, I love how it opens
Mm-hmm.
with Pacey trying to find something to do, clearly, because he's bored, just flipping through the channels.
Mm-hmm.
And so then he gets up to look out the window. And I just gotta say, I love that he lives right across from the bar that Joey works at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just
And
thinking about the
so,
TV because he
why?
must have bought a new one after what's his name broke it.
Oh, because
Yes.
it's smaller.
Well, I didn't know it was the size. I just noticed that it was a working TV. So
I thought you were gonna say because it was a black and white movie that he was watching.
no.
Because that's what Dawson's into. So it's kind of like, oh.
Hmm.
But we know he wasn't watching that. And so then he gets up, he's getting his coat because he wants to go clearly to the bar to see her.
Hmm.
And then he opens the door and there's Joey.
Yep.
I love it that they just thought of each other. Oh, it just made my heart so happy.
Hmm.
You didn't like this whole opening with the two of them?
No, I did.
Because I just loved it. Then it was funny because he was like, I was hoping we could stand here awkwardly in the doorway. And
Right.
she's like, this isn't awkward. And then they don't say anything, and then it just becomes awkward.
Hmm.
But you know what's funny is those two can, even though it was like somewhat awkward because they weren't talking, it was still adorable.
Right.
Now, like if Dawson tried that, it would be like, okay, this really is awkward. But it's
Hmm.
because these two have the chemistry for it. So, you can kind of ignore the awkwardness because they're just too adorable. Then what
Hmm.
happens?
And then, well, Joey mentions that they should just stop being polite, and Casey jokes saying that he's glad that she mentioned that because he's been meaning to emotionally bully her for weeks. And
Bully
then,
or I thought it was abuse.
oh yeah, that's what he said too. I just said bully, but yeah. And then Joey asks Pacey if he regrets telling his feelings to her, and they get into that.
Well, and then she said that, she said, how can I regret something that was in the back of my mind?
Hmm.
What? Cynthia, she was thinking of this for how long?
I don't know.
Uh, oh my God. Okay, when did she think that he was still in love with her?
I have no idea. Maybe after him and Audrey broke up. I don't know.
Because I know, but even when they broke up, she was still hung over Eddie.
Hmm.
She didn't have time for Pacey until Eddie left.
Right.
So I'm just kind of like, when did you? Or was it when Audrey kept, yapping about how Pacey was, in love with Joey?
Maybe, yeah.
Whether it was Christmas or before that when he broke up with her because he wasn't in love with her, but we all know he was in love with Joey. Um, I don't know. You just wonder what Audrey really told Joey.
Hmm.
I wish we could have had those moments, in the past.
Yeah.
Um, but yes, that was just so cute. But then she brings up, um, they talk about like being together
Hmm.
and like what they're worried about.
Yeah.
She's worried about the past.
Hmm.
And and then he just wants to like move forward because they're not kids.
Hmm.
And, they've grown since, I mean, I don't really know if Joey has, but do you think Joey's grown since then?
Yeah, somewhat.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
I but she but she's still sort of iffy. Like that's what I would be worried about. Like having her just be like, eh.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because it's like she took a whole year to figure out what she wanted from season 3 to 4. So it was
Right.
like she's still playing the iffy game. It's like, oh my God, what do you want, girl?
Mm-hmm.
Like most girls in your like if we were in your position, we would be like 100%. We would have
Mm-hmm.
already made that choice. But it's like, how is it you are still debating this?
Right.
You know, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it. But that's what I would be worried about because it took from season 5 and 6, Dawson and Joey tried like 10 more times and she was just so wishy-washy. Like every time it was like, make up your goddamn mind.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would be worried about.
Right. And then Pacey did say that
He didn't want
that
a clean slate.
well, yeah, that too, but before that, he said that that was then being the title of the episode. So I think that's the
Mm,
first time we heard the title of the
title.
episode actually be said.
Well, what about, no, I think it might be the second time because I think Audrey said this was my rock bottom
Oh, okay.
and rock bottom was the title.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I do like how Pacey said he doesn't want a clean slate. Like basically what they did, what is, it is in the past. He just doesn't want it to be brought up every time.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that. They do deserve a clean slate. If you've changed.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like at the beginning it's gonna still be in the back of your mind of what happened. But eventually, if that person really did change,
Mm-hmm.
you don't need to look back at the past.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where the growing is. If Joey really did grow, she will sort of push all that away and focus on now, you know? But I don't
Right.
really know if she has changed. But I'm still debating that one. But here's the thing between Dawson and Pacey. Dawson, hmm, always, every time, always wanted a clean slate, never wanted to apologize because he always thought he was clear and everyone was wrong. And he never took accountability. Pacey always takes accountability.
Mm-hmm.
And Pacey doesn't want a clean slate, where Dawson did every time. And that's the difference between the two of them is Pacey really is mature
Mm-hmm.
because Dawson, even the beginning of season 6, he was blaming Joey. Remember?
Right.
And it was like, who? Who cheated?
Mm-hmm.
Certainly wasn't Joey. And that was the
Yeah.
thing was even in this is season 6. Pacey is like, you know what? Basically, I did what I did. I just don't want you to keep bringing it up. But Dawson was like, you were wrong. It's like, no, this is the difference between the boys. Okay. And this is why Pacey is better because Pacey takes it for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Dawson just had his own little imagination. um, I mean, do you agree with that or no?
Yeah, I do.
Between Dawson and Pacey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they're just
I
gonna think
I
about this
just loved it.
separately. Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, Cynthia,
Hmm.
this scene between Pacey and Joey, there is um there's behind the scenes that if you watch it, then you watch the scene, all you do is laugh.
Why?
Watch it.
Okay.
Because then it's like you can't unsee it.
Okay. I will after
Um,
this.
but anyway, they're just too adorable. But then when does he bring up pizza?
Um, after he was gonna kiss her, but she stops him, and then she gets up to go, and then that's when she asks about the pizza thing.
Hmm. Oh, another thing is, she talks about calling him.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, like you ever needed an excuse.
Right.
I was like, oh my God. But I mean, could she really have called him when he was with Audrey?
Not really, no.
No. Because remember Audrey when he was kind of defending Joey against Charlie, she was, I'm the girlfriend. And it's, remember when she said, I'm the present girlfriend?
Mm-hmm.
Not anymore. And you're right. You're not just the girlfriend. You were just the present girlfriend. Do you
Mm-hmm.
think that was a thing for the writers too, to be like, this isn't going anywhere?
I don't know, maybe.
Because why would you say I'm the present girlfriend?
I don't know, just to remind him that
I
Joey
know,
was in the
but
past.
why wouldn't you just say I'm your girlfriend?
I don't know.
Like she's the ex, but I'm your
Mm-hmm.
girlfriend. Like it was weird how they put in their present
Mm-hmm.
because it was like, and obviously they're not together, so it was true. But I just wonder if the writers threw that in to be like, this isn't gonna last long.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. And then after the theme song, Joey's on campus with Hudson. He wants her to babysit Harley.
Those two are really becoming buddies, aren't they?
Yeah, I was surprised how much they were talking about his dating life.
I know this was like 5 whole minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're talking about Harley
Yeah.
and because he was, talking about that she's like different and stuff, and Joey's like, she has hormones and stuff.
Yeah, she's
Then he
normal.
was talking about how, well, I don't want a normal girl. Because Joey goes,
Right.
she's just normal.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, I want like someone like you. It's like,
Yeah, that was kind of creepy.
yeah, I was like, I don't know, this is weird. But like, there's, and I do agree with Joey with what she said. Because she said, if you kind of like hide her, like it was something about, like locking her away, like where she then thinks that she's missing out on something.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Yeah.
If you sit there and take everything away, they're going
Mm-hmm.
to be like, well, what am I missing?
Yeah.
I want that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you always want what you don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what she would do.
Right.
So I agree with Joey. And it's like, how does he not know that? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Was he never a teenager?
I guess not.
I just don't get him at all. But then what does he want her to do?
Um,
Watch Harley.
yeah.
And
Yep,
it
at
is,
3:30.
isn't it weird that she does need a babysitter?
Yeah, well, she was doing her little breakouts for school and everything and wandering around different cities even. So I get why he would want her watched.
Is Joey getting A's in his class? Because if a teacher was giving me, not good grades, I would be like, watching your kid. No. You know what I mean?
Maybe. Hmm. But maybe he's still paying her too to watch her before.
I know, but wouldn't that kind of be intense if they're
Hmm.
not giving you good grades?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, no, just think about like in high school, like would if a teacher was giving you a hard time and then they were, you weren't getting A's, you'd be like, no,
Hmm.
I'm not going to do you a favor.
Right.
And also, isn't it kind of weird for them to be kind of somewhat, normal, as in like he's not harassing her. Um, and yet Eddie punched him.
Yeah, it is.
Like it's kind of like, did we kind of are we supposed to forget that Eddie punched him? Because
Well,
it'll always be in my head.
yeah, well, he probably doesn't hold it against Joey, and Joey's the only one that really um person that Harley trusts. So it's not like he's gonna find another student of his to take her place.
Right.
Yeah, but he sets the rules like no boys at the house, no boys calling the house or slowly walking down or slowing down while they're walking by the house even.
He's got some tight rules.
Hmm.
He
Then he
must
did
not
call
know
it,
his daughter.
Yeah, and then he did call Joey anxious, bookish, and prone to having boyfriends who live far, far away. That was a low blow.
Well, that's because he said that's what he wanted Harley to be,
Yeah, no, I'm just
where
saying it
her
was
boyfriends are
low.
far, far away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but hey, not all of her boyfriends are far, far away.
Mm-hmm.
One lives across from where she works.
Yeah.
Just saying. And to me, that's the only one that matters.
And then Hudson even goes into about Joey's boyfriend from high school and like what he was like. So just really getting into her business.
Yeah, but which one?
Well, Joey just says
Plus, she
that,
dated AJ.
mm-hmm. Joey just simply said that people change. So I'm guessing she meant Pacey when she said that.
Well, yeah, Dawson hasn't changed since
Mm-hmm.
season one.
Yeah.
I think that's the whole thing too, is we've watched Pacey grow. Um, but we have never really watched Dawson grow. It's like even in this episode, it's like, has he really changed? No. So, and we're now into season 6. You would think in season 6 of any TV show, the character would grow,
Mm-hmm.
but Dawson hasn't. So it's just kind of frustrating to watch him just still be the same person he was in the pilot episode.
Right. Yeah, so Dawson arrives back at Capeside to teach Mr. Gold's class because
You
apparently he's
know,
the film teacher again.
that threw me off because I was like,
Mm-hmm.
Dawson's walking up, and all I hear is like the bell and stuff. And I'm like, oh, is he in college? And then I look and I'm like, Capeside High School, what? And
Mm-hmm.
then Mr. Gold walks up, and I was like, I didn't know what I was watching. I was like, what? Because he was only in like 2 episodes, Mr.
Right.
Gold. And then he just disappeared, and there was a new film teacher. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
what
There was a couple,
happened?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because Mr. Gold was never talked about again. Because when they had the new teacher, they never talked about what happened to Mr. Gold. So I'm just like, I literally wrote what happened to this teacher because
Mm-hmm.
last we saw, he disappeared after like episode 3.
Yep.
So I don't get, like, he's teaching again?
I guess, yeah.
I have a question though. Do you think the writers forgot that Mr. Gold wasn't a part of the show after like the 3rd episode?
I don't know.
Because there was other film teachers
Mm-hmm.
in the same year that
Yeah.
that Dawson had film class. So it's not like it
Mm-hmm.
was a new year that like you would get a new teacher.
Yeah.
It was literally the same year. So it didn't make any sense then, and it doesn't make any sense now that he's teaching still.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So Dawson must be like the only one in Cape Side to like go to well, not film school because he, dropped out of that, but to like sort of make it
Mm-hmm. Yep.
because for some reason where he's going back. And isn't it weird that he's going back after only what is it, a year and a half now out of high school?
Yeah.
Like normally wouldn't you bring somebody that's successful after like 10 years back?
Maybe, yeah.
Not somebody after a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is he really going to teach somebody
Right.
after a year and a half? Not
Yeah, like
much.
yeah, I guess Mr. Gold knows that he made a movie, so he's just using that.
He was like the intern,
Yeah. Well, he doesn't really know everything that happened.
but his name isn't on anything. So why would Mr. Gold think? But see, I think that's the thing. Capeside was like gossiping, you know how small towns gossip. And I think they must have said Dawson was a director, and it was like, Todd was the director, but okay.
Well, he did direct the last the ending, so he must have had his name on that part at least somewhere.
But did you watch the movie at the end? It said directed by Todd Carr.
Well, maybe like the rest of the credits, you know.
It didn't say in Dawson Leary.
I know. Well, we didn't see the whole credits, so who knows?
I have another thing about that scene with the class.
Mm-hmm.
Are we there yet?
No, because then we go back to Pacey after Dawson walks in school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Pacey just gets a call at work before his secretary can even say who it is. He just answers it, and we don't even really know who's on the phone. Just that he is going to go to the hospital, and when he does get there, Deceased dog. And then Doug
Um,
says that their dad's just having tests done.
okay. All right, here's the thing with this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Pacey walks in and like the first thing he says is, "What's up with the old guy?" What? Then he was like, "What? You couldn't get him his own room as in dad?" And it's like, uh, what?
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't. I mean, the Witters aren't rich.
Right.
They're not rich to get him his own room, first of all. Secondly, when you go to the hospital, you're put
Mm-hmm.
in whatever room, unless you're famous, you're put in whatever room you're in,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're in the ER.
Yeah.
They just shove you somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they shove you in the hallway if there's no rooms.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, what? Like it was very confusing because I'm like I remember my seizure
Mm-hmm.
when when I was taken by ambulance. I remember being in the ER and then they thought I had a stroke and they didn't know what to do with me.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, they didn't know what floor to put me on because they're like, we don't know what this is. So, they put me in the basement.
Oh.
Where there's no internet.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing was when you're put in the basement, it's a little bit like more spacious, I guess, because that's basically where they don't know where to put you category.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in the basement and I had my own room. So that was nice. But I mean, there has been times where, family members are put with somebody else and you're like, this is
Mm-hmm.
nice. Not really, but because like your whole family can't be in there and stuff because there's only like one chair.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could have very easily been put with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you don't get those choices. And again, I wasn't rich. I couldn't just snap my fingers and I get my own room. You know, you don't get
Right.
that choice. So I was like, Pacey, what world are you living in?
I think it's just because he's like the sheriff of Capeside, so Casey thinks he should get special treatment for that, I guess.
Everyone in the family gets special treatment, but how he was acting was like, oh, like dad's
Mm-hmm.
king. He just should get, it's like, no, he shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if you're sheriff or not.
Right.
You get whatever room's open.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry to tell you.
Right. And then he's not really listening to Doug either, trying to explain what happened.
hmm And also that Doug's main focus was their mom and their sisters
Mm-hmm.
because, they're freaking out.
Yeah. Because apparently they were all there when it happened, not Pacey.
Well, Pacey ain't even in Capeside,
I know, I'm just saying, like, I
which
thought Gretchen moved to, what was it, California or New York? One of those places.
maybe she's home for spring break.
Yeah.
This was aired in March. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I got some more things about Pacey coming up.
Okay. Yeah, because he kind of, offended Doug by saying, like, well, who can I talk to that knows who they're talking about? Because he said that he's not really entirely sure about everything.
Well, yeah, and Doug's like, I've been here all day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know more of what's going on than like anyone.
Right.
And the thing is, Doug's a cop, so he can somewhat get more information, I would think, than a random person
Mm-hmm.
like his sisters,
Right.
who are just the child of the patient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Doug was like, I'm sorry, things aren't up to snuff for the Wall Street wannabe. They were concentrating on more important things like the fact that he survived.
Yep.
That's a good point, yeah.
Well, and they're doing tests because they still don't really know what happened. So that's
Mm-hmm.
their main focus.
Yeah.
And
Doug just
honestly, that's what it should be.
mm-hmm.
Like if it was like my parent and their main focus was like a room
Mm-hmm.
versus what actually happened to them, I would be
Right.
I'd be like, that's what you're worried about?
Mm-hmm.
Not what happened to my parent? Oh
Mm-hmm.
my God, I would be, yelling at the staff because I would be like, seriously, you're doing nothing. But the fact
Right.
that they actually are taking care of their dad, Pacey should be happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, Doug said that their dad had an exaggerated rhythm, you know what I mean? So it wasn't
it's
exactly a
more
heart
it's
attack.
more fun watching you try to
Yeah, I know.
pronounce words.
I know taking medical terminology was a nightmare trying to
Oh,
pronounce
that
these
was the
words.
thing you took. I
Mm-hmm.
forgot in the second. Yeah, you did take it. So what's it called again?
I already said it to my best capable ability. So,
I have a question. How did you pronounce it in medical terminology class?
well, we we like have to like the popcorn thing. We would go down the list of different conditions and say them out loud, which, which is good practice to say them, but I still didn't like doing it, of course. So I would just hope that I would get like a small word that wasn't complicated. But
Did you ever get the big word?
yeah, I don't remember what they were, but yeah, once in a while. So then Todd and Dawson's movie ends in Mr. Gold's class. That's when we do see the credits about Todd being the director.
Yeah, and those kids were going right after Dawson. You weren't a director. I'm
Hmm.
sorry, but I got a kick out of that with the class kind of like going after Dawson. I was going to say that.
Hmm.
Um, okay. I have a question for you. How long is this film class?
Yeah, no,
They
because they watched the
they
whole
were able
movie.
to watch the
Yeah,
whole movie
right. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Dawson had somehow shortened it to a little, like a shorter snippet of it. I don't know.
because we watched movies in school.
Hmm.
We would watch we would watch a movie for like 3 or 4 days because you can't finish it in 1 or 2 days.
Hmm.
So it was just kind of it was laughable because it didn't make any sense that unless this film class is 3 hours long, there's no way that because think about it, the teacher has to introduce Dawson, right? Then he goes through with the movie, and then they have discussion after. Like that's like 3 whole hours.
Right.
This class can't be that long, you know? So I was like,
Hmm.
this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But again, it's Dawson's Creek, so nothing makes sense.
Hmm. Yeah. So apparently, Mr. Gold had told his students a lot about Dawson. So the one student was comparing Dawson's directing to Todd's because they're very different from each other.
Well, did you hear Dawson when he said, you didn't really direct anything? And Dawson goes, I directed the ending. And I'm like,
Hmm.
oh my God. It was so funny.
Yeah, because Mr. Gold even showed the class Dawson's earlier work. And I'm guessing it was the second one he made with the football team about the game to compare and contrast. But 'cause I don't know what other older work he could have showed them besides that one. Right.
I have no idea what he showed them.
Yeah.
This was just a random thing for Dawson.
Hmm.
Again, there's no way they're gonna call somebody back after a year. Like most people, especially with Dawson, it's very hard to believe that Dawson would, you know, be a director in a movie,
Hmm.
1 year out of high school. That just doesn't happen. So,
Right.
again, it's laughable. So
Hmm.
this whole storyline for him is just kind of thrown in there, I feel like.
Yeah. And then the students ask him more questions about directing, which they were good questions. I don't think Dawson was, expecting them.
I don't think he knew how to answer him. He was not a
Yeah,
director.
that's what I'm saying.
Like if Todd was there, I feel like it'd be so much better because he has experience.
Right.
Dawson
'Cause-
only has this movie to go off of.
yeah, because Dawson says because the student asks about not putting too much of himself into somebody else's work, and Dawson said that he got to know Todd so well they kind of shared their like a shared vision that they had together, and the student said if that was a good thing considering the movie went straight to cable, so they're just going after him again and again.
I liked it.
Hmm. And then, Dawson said that he did drop out of film school. And then that's when Dawson again brings up Woody Allen that he dropped out of NYU, which again, the mention of him has aged very poorly. And Dawson said that it's all how you want to learn. And then that's when the bell rings. Probably a good thing for Dawson. And everyone immediately gets up from their desks except one student who wants to show him his own film to Dawson. And
You mean Minnie Dawson?
yeah. And then, when he leaves, he calls him Mr. Leary, and that makes Dawson feel old and everything. And that's when Mr. Gold tells Dawson that his name is Ben. He doesn't have to
Um,
call him Mr. Gold.
but the thing is,
Hmm.
um, Dawson, of course, I'm sure was so excited when the bell rang because it's like, oh, these kids are finally not attacking me.
Hmm.
Because, Dawson always thinks he's better than everybody else. So, um, I don't think he could handle really the pressure of those kids.
Hmm.
Um, and also, I will say about like your teacher,
Hmm.
they're always going to be your teacher.
Right.
You're all like when you run into your teacher,
Hmm.
can you call them by their first name?
No, because you might not even know it.
Well, okay, but if you do know it,
Hmm. Right.
it's like, Mr.
Hmm.
Oh, I'm supposed to call you by your first name? I can't do
Right.
that. Because it's like the whole respect, and it's like for a whole year, that's what well, your whole career of school, that's what you've called them. So
Hmm.
it's weird to then just call them by their first name.
Right.
Like there's no respect then, I feel like. And I thought in a small town, they're supposed to have respect for the elders,
Hmm.
which clearly this one doesn't want respect. And isn't it funny too that he would want Dawson back after he basically didn't want Dawson in the class to begin with?
Right. Because he was a freshman or sophomore. Yeah,
Yeah, and
underclassman.
and he talked too much. Remember when he said you can sit in the back and don't speak, and then Dawson, of course, has to speak.
Right. Yeah, and then Mr. Gold or Ben says that waiting 6 years for Dawson to experience all this was well worth it. So I guess it's been 6 years since he was in the class, I guess, or started the class.
Here's the thing. I think the writers were going off of season wise
Hmm.
because it's
Okay, yeah.
season six,
Right.
but season one and two were the same year.
Yes, doesn't make sense.
So, and it's only the half of this year. So it would only be, what, 5.5 years?
Hmm.
So, yeah, like 6 years? It's only been like five. What are they talking
Right.
about?
Hmm.
Or no, would it only be, no, be only 4.5 years.
Yeah, just something a lot less than 6 years, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be 4.5 years. So this teacher don't even know what year Dawson was in the class.
Hmm. And then we go into Harley's room because Joey walks in and Harley's studying or writing her essay, and Harley doesn't even acknowledge her, so she turns off the loud music. Joey does. And then that's when Harley begs Joey to not turn it off because she can hear herself think when it's too quiet and scares her. She was real for that one. And then Joey said she would be scared too if she was supposed to be writing a paper Harley's father wanted to read when he got home. So that's how strict he's going to be. And then when Joey asks what page she's on, Harley says it's all up in her head and then points on her head. So I don't know how she thinks she's going to show an essay when she doesn't have it written down for her father to read.
When's the boyfriend coming?
Yeah, because well, Harley does ask Joey why she cares so much about her relationship with her father. I think it's just because of Zoe's complicated relationship with her own father, I guess.
Yeah, I think she wants to fix this before it turns ugly and, neither one forgives each other. Because obviously, I mean,
Hmm.
and I still don't get how Joey forgives her father. Like
Hmm.
he almost killed all of you. So
Hmm.
that would have been a done
Yeah.
deal for me.
And then Joey tells Harley that she wants an intro in the next half hour. And that she tells her that she knows she's smart because she's already bored with life and it's only going to get worse if she spends her teen years locked up in a room. Then the second Joey closes the door, a boy walks out of Harley's closet and he trips. So Very clumsy like
And
Jen.
the thing is, Joey's very kind of being uptight about Harley
Mm-hmm.
when in a boy when she didn't have parental vision.
Right, because it was just Bess.
And but think about it, Dawson was allowed in her room.
Mm-hmm.
Pacey was allowed in her like people were allowed in Joey's room.
Mm-hmm.
Joey was always home alone.
Yeah.
So I don't understand this at all. When you were raised free, you didn't have rules.
Mm-hmm.
It's just weird.
Yeah. Yeah, so his name is Patrick, and he gets on top of Harley and starts kissing her. And
Mhm.
Joey walks back in.
How did you like when she said, is that like at one point, if that's even your name?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Joey doesn't even notice them until she turns off the music again and turns around, and that's when she sees the boy, and she sees Patrick and Harley's bed, and Harley tells Joey that this is Patrick, her study partner. So we're back at the hospital when Doug is in front of the TV in the waiting room while Pacey gets something from the vending machine. And then Pacey sits down next to Doug. They start talking about that they moved their dad to a private room, and Pacey says he's the one that did that. And Doug asks him, like, how did he do that? Slipped him a 20. So that's only one way to solve it, he guesses.
Well, he slipped a 20 in season one.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think that was a throwback.
Hmm. So this isn't really completely out of character for Pacey.
No.
And then Doug says he did 'cause first Pacey says he's sorry he got himself worked up on the drive there thinking about the possibilities. And Doug says he should try having breakfast with their dad and see him grab his chest and fall over. And he asks Pacey if he ever saw him off guard. Pacey says no.
Nope.
No. Yeah, so Pacey says that makes it so scary that he spent so long pushing the old man's buttons in high school he forgot there were real feelings under there. And then we go back to Harley's house where Joey sets her and Patrick to study in the kitchen.
So, Patrick calls Joey Josephine, and then she was like, "How old do you think I am?" It was a good little bit.
Yeah. I was just trying to see where he is in my notes. But yeah, so of course turns out Patrick isn't even in the same English class as Harley, so can't really study together if they're not in the same class. And Harley tries to diet down, saying like it wasn't a big deal that he was in her room. It's not like they were in their skivvies, she tells Joey.
Weird phrase.
Yeah. And then I was just kind of surprised how quick Patrick kind of switched to Joey, starting to flirt with her like that.
I don't know. I felt like it was the whole episode.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It didn't really seem like he was into Harley at all.
Hmm. Yeah, especially after that point. And of course, Patrick really pushed it when he said that he's sure the three of them can work this out together. And Joey says not in the way that he's thinking. But he did recognize that there's something between Harley and Joey, like a sisterly bond. So he says he doesn't want to ruin that, but he kind of does here.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
flirting with Joey is ruining it.
Hmm. Yeah. So Joey says that she knows his kind, and unfortunately for him, and then Joey tells them that they're staying in the kitchen or downstairs for the rest of the night to study for real.
But what does he need to study for if he's not even in the class?
I know exactly. You should have sent him home at that point.
I know. Go home. She needs
Hmm.
to study. You go home.
Yeah. Then back at the hospital, Pacey calls Joey on the payphone and her voicemail starts playing, and that's when Doug tells him that their father is awake now. So Pacey doesn't really have the time to leave a message, so he hangs up. And then Joey and Pacey, yeah, nope, Doug and Pacey walk into their
I was
dad's
like,
room.
Joey's?
Yeah. No, and then Pacey introduced himself to the doctor,
Oh
calls
my
himself the
God.
black sheep.
But then the doctor was like, "Oh, you've been telling me about your son." And it's like
Mm-hmm.
eye rolls.
Yeah. All in front of
Um,
Doug.
Here's the thing. I know people exactly like this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a trigger for me.
Right. Yeah.
Um, to have, to like, be the people to take care of somebody. And then for someone to just come from out of town or whatever, out of the woodworks and be like the favorite child. And the doctor now only refers to you and not the person that's been there.
Mm-hmm.
It just irritates me. And people like this that come in, swoop in for the credit and leave. It's just like when someone dies, they swoop in for the funeral, they get all the credit. This is great, blah, blah, blah. And then they're gone. It's like you have to still fix things after the funeral.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you can't just leave. And it's just like the hospital. You can't just show up for the hospital and then leave. Then Mr. Witter's going to have to go home. Who's going to take care of him then? It's like there's a process with this, but I hate the people that come in and take all the damn credit. It just makes me so mad because I have family members just like that. But it irritates me when this certain person would come in and to get the credit. It's like, really? Oh, but then he had his own ideas. It was like Pacey, like, why doesn't dad have his own room? It's like there's more going on than what is in front of your face. And that was a thing like with this person too. I remember when somebody was in the hospital and we wanted to stay and make sure that they were all situated and everything before bedtime. And this person was like, well, they're not doing any tests or anything tonight, so you might as well go home. And it's like, there's more to just tests. We want to make sure this person is secure and okay with, everything this person needs for bedtime before we just leave. But again, you're an asshole. So you would only care about one little thing, which is, if they're not doing tests, I'm not going to stay at the hospital. Like that to me is an ass move. And I just hate people like that because I obviously know somebody like that. So, yeah. So I didn't really care for Pacey in this because they were making him that jerk that I can't stand. Because again, the doctor, I'm sure, was looking at Doug for questions and answers. But now that Pacey, the favorite, is there, it's like, oh, forget you, Doug. You don't exist. Like Pacey somehow all of a sudden knows more than Doug.
Right.
Which is weird because don't you like sometimes I'm sure Doug gets medical calls, right? So Doug would know more of what's going on than Pacey.
Yeah.
In that aspect. Like Pacey he's not even in the medical field. You know what I mean?
Right.
But then it was just weird because like Mr. Witter's all like, oh, this is my son Pacey. And I'm like, oh, I wrote down, I was like, now I know who the favorite child is. Because remember, I even said previously, I was like, who is Mr. Witter's favorite child? And it was kind of like, I don't know. I mean, you guys said Doug. And I was like, I didn't think he liked any of his kids.
Well, it just seemed like he, out of all of them, he seemed to not really bring down Doug as much as the others.
Is it because he followed in his dad's footsteps as a cop?
Yeah, probably.
And they could bond over, the legal
Work.
system and all the criminals.
Yeah.
But no, the favorite child's there.
Yeah.
I mean, do you relate to Doug?
Like when it comes to their dad?
Well, I mean, like if you're there and then other family members swoop in, like extended family or whatever, it's like, excuse you, go away.
No, not really.
Really?
Yeah, because everybody knows I'm the boss, so they don't really
Everybody
do
knows
that.
I'm the boss.
Yeah, like like I said,
Oh
from
my God.
before my mom was in the hospital in the ER, there's only two other people that are allowed to be with her, and I didn't want to switch with anybody, and nobody argued me on that. So
You just said everybody knows I'm the boss.
yeah, they do, and you know this for years.
I know you try to be the boss of me. Um, but oh my God, just how you said it. Vanilla's on the
Well, they've been calling me that for a while.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Yeah, and then Pacey's dad, his attention goes on to see about, asking him how traffic is, and he appreciates him being there and everything.
Okay, you're in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm in the hospital, I expect my children to be there.
Right.
I don't care if they live out of state. Get your
Mm-hmm.
ass on a plane and fly home to see me. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
I that's what I expect because that's what you're supposed to do with family.
Yeah.
So the fact that Mr. Witter's like, "Oh, came to see me on your busy schedule.
Mm-hmm.
What? Like that's your kid. I expect your kid to be there. Like, what?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, did
Mm-hmm.
you expect anything less?
Yeah, no, so I was surprised, yeah.
What? Uh,
Yep, and then we go to Dawson finishes watching George's movie with him. And Dawson doesn't really know
George.
what to
I
say.
was surprised I didn't come up with like a D name to resemble Dawson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so Dawson doesn't really know
Well,
what to
because
say.
Patrick, I just realized that Patrick is Patrick and he's supposed to resemble Pacey.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's right.
Okay, Dawson's Dawson's face. Oh my God, it was killing me. The look he was giving for the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't stop laughing. It was so funny. And then George goes, "Well, thank you for the silence." And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah. Well, he
And the
expected
look
Dawson to say
too.
something. Yeah.
His name's Dawson, really? Okay, but then Dawson's like, "I don't know what to say to you." Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing, Dawson. You remember when you were George not too long ago? Do you remember all the times people would criticize you and all you would say was they're from out of town, they don't know. Here's the thing. Tell him exactly what apparently you wanted to hear, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could say it nicely of the things that he could change, but tell him the things that you wanted to know or what you wish somebody would have told you, even though I think looking back, everybody said what needed to be said, that he needed practice, he needed to work, that this isn't going to come easy. People told him that, and he
Mm-hmm.
always just was like, "You don't know anything." It's like, yeah, they do. And so it's kind of like, now here's your chance. Are you going to be the person that tells him the truth, the what you needed to hear but you didn't hear? Or are you going to be the good person and tell him lies, what you wanted to hear? So it was kind of like, and then Dawson's like, well, but he did then say basically like, don't lose this feeling and everything. And I'm like, here we go, Dawson.
I mean, it was good advice. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in nicely manner, he kind of said to sort of fix some things. But honestly, though, I wouldn't really get Dawson's feedback.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be honest, he's not the person I would get the feedback from.
Mm-hmm.
Because what has he done that was so good?
Right. But he does tell George that he has stuff to learn, like he could trust himself when going in for shots and needs to work on continuity. Did you catch that?
No,
Yeah, so I just thought that was funny to me because
the
this
show
whole
doesn't have
show,
that.
yeah, it, you know, frequently drops plot lines after plot lines and characters that just kind of disappear and never really are mentioned again. So it made me laugh when Dawson told George that.
Did you hear what George said?
About what?
He said, Mr. Gold showed me Creek Days.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
I have a question.
Um,
What's Creek Days?
yeah, I was thinking that. I think that's the only thing I can think of is that it was the film that he was making about his own life, about him and Joey's relationship. That I thought was never really finished because it again wasn't mentioned after
Um,
Dawson was seen editing it, but because wasn't that the one Abby was in, I think,
yeah, I
playing
was gonna
Jen?
say Abby died.
Yeah, so I that's why I think that that was dropped was because like Dawson didn't want to like put the movie out there after she died or something. Maybe that could have been a thing, but yeah, or unless he sent Mr. Go a copy of the movie before she died, like to see what he had worked on
No,
so far.
no, because after Abby died, Dawson was then working on editing. Because I remember like the
Oh,
next episode, he was like, it's really hard to watch these to edit Abby when she's gone. Remember, because
right.
they were trying to figure out what to say about her.
Hmm.
And that was when he was starting to edit. And it was like, so the movie was never really done. And we never heard that he finished it.
Hmm.
But I was like, what the hell is Creek Days?
Right. That's what they can think of because there was
Yeah,
nothing
it's
else that
weird.
was really about his life. So
Every movie he tries to make about his life.
yeah,
But
it's
I was
just
like, whatever.
unfortunate.
But yeah, that threw me off. I was like, it actually had a name.
Right.
It wasn't My Soulmate.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, because George said that that movie had a syrupy sweet with lame music. So that didn't really give me much more clues what it was, but had it been that. Yeah, so he just tells George to stay in school and keep his nose clean and don't do sports.
Do sports.
Yeah, I don't know what he really meant by that, but
That's rude. Don't do
mhm.
sports.
And then back at the hospital, Pacey's dad tells him about his mom getting a cookbook and blames her cooking because it's
Cooking.
about bacon. Yeah, for her condition, he blames her, which
Um,
wasn't nice. So I guess
okay.
good thing she wasn't there.
So Pacey brings up Doug
Hmm.
and Mr. Widow was like, he just looking for drama.
Right.
But because it's about his heart attack or whatever, but it's like, no.
Hmm.
I don't think he's looking for drama because like Mr. Witter, I think is still shocked that Pacey is there. Hmm. Um, but then Pacey and Mr. Witter really have a talk, right?
Hmm.
Um, and Pacey was like, "You're my father." Like that's why I'm here sort of thing.
Yeah.
And Mr. Witter responds, "You really would do anything for me after everything." And then he
Yeah.
was like, well, after everything, Mr. Witter did to Pacey.
Hmm.
And then he follows it up with, I knew you would grow up to be one of the good guys.
Yeah, I don't think that's true.
What?
Hmm.
What is that supposed to mean?
I guess maybe he suspected Casey to end up in jail. I don't know.
No, he said, I knew you would grow up to be one of the good guys.
Hmm.
That's not how he acted.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, he did say, yeah, I never really told you that.
Hmm.
No, you always said he was a failure
Right.
and worthless. And I mean, this is why you never brought him home when he was
Hmm.
sleeping at everyone's houses because you didn't care about your kid.
Hmm.
Because if you did, you would have dragged his butt home every night.
Hmm.
Think about it. If Dawson decided to spend the night at someone else's house or had an older sibling and was like, I'm going to live with you, Mitch would have dragged Dawson home because
Hmm.
Mitch loved his son. Mr. Witter could care less where Pacey was living.
Hmm.
I'm like, what are you talking about? You hated Pacey. And this is why Pacey gets, in my mind, this is where he starts to get away with me not criticizing him so much because he did come back to see his father in the hospital.
Hmm.
He dropped work to go see his father. Now, do I expect it from, a lot of people? Yes. But the
Hmm.
reason why I don't expect it from Pacey is because of what Mr. Witter has done to Pacey his whole life. All the crap he said to him when he was a kid, remember? Because Pacey
Hmm.
was like, my dad hates me. This is in season 1 when him and Joey had that talk. Um, and then remember he said he was a crybaby when he beat up that fifth grader when he was in second grade for Gretchen. It's like, who says this stuff about their kid? And it's like
Mhm.
after everything, I mean, he even punched his own son.
Yep.
After everything, Pacey is still there and showed up. He gets all the credit because this is why he turns away and people that I know because Pacey had this horrible relationship with his dad, but he's still there.
Mhm.
And I don't expect him to go and see him. Even if Mr. Witter died, I would not expect Pacey to show up to the funeral
Right.
because of his dad.
Mhm.
And that's the difference is Pacey is still there.
Mhm.
Why? I have no idea. He just must have a really big heart because I don't get it.
Yeah. Because even told his dad that maybe he didn't always, hear him when he did say it. So
He
to make
never
his dad feel
said it.
better. Yeah, I know.
The dude never said it. Remember when
Mhm.
Pacey was on the beach, like crying over his dad? And his dad was drunk and heard nothing because he was
Passed
drunk
out.
and
Yeah.
wasted. Yeah, it's like
Mhm.
you heard all of those things that Pacey has tried to do to bring you back because he needs a father. You weren't there.
Mhm.
So it just irritates me. But yeah, I'm like, of course, Pacey shows up.
And then back at Hudson's, Harley is studying while Joey's reading a book on the other side of the room, and Patrick is staring at Joey. And Harley notices, and Patrick says that he's talking to Joey. He sees that she's reading the Don Lilo, and because the White Noise is one of his favorite books, and Joey catches him that he never even read the book, so he's just lying to her, trying to make
Um,
himself look better, impress her.
when Harley and him are kind of going at it,
Mm-hmm.
wh why did he say, well, I mean, he's an idiot, but why would he say he was keeping his options open?
I know that was so stupid.
It was like, she basically just said you guys are together. And then you said,
Mm-hmm.
what? Well, I'm just keeping my options open. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if that's not a relationship ending, I don't know what is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Harley's, telling him like she invited him to study and not, flirt with Joey. And,
Yep.
um, and then, Patrick tries to make Harley feel bad about still needing a babysitter. And she brings up he stays with his neighbors when his parents are out of town. He says that's for safety. And then Joey kind of breaks it up.
I highly doubt that.
Yeah. Yeah, she breaks it up and tells him to move on. And Harley says that's easier for Joey and calls her Helen, as in the face that launched 1,000 ships.
What was that
Um,
reference from?
just like Greek mythology, Helen, the Iliad, about how she was so beautiful that Greek men went to Troy and fought the Trojan War to win her back from her lover Paris, basically.
Mm.
So just being so beautiful that a lot of men will go to war for you, basically. And then, yeah, Carly calls Patrick her boyfriend, and that's why he starts getting confused. That was funny how she said that she hates him with a burning passion of 1,000 STDs. Great description. And then, Patrick says they haven't had the talk yet, and Harley says, "How can they? How can they when, he's never serious when she is?" And then she gives out examples where she wasn't like, where he wasn't, wasn't loyal, didn't stick up for her when he should have. And then, Harley, is done with him and just walks back into her room and slams the door. And, he's like, I probably shouldn't have said the options part. And Joey says to begin with. And then
I
we
did
go
like
back.
how Joey kicked him out.
Yeah. And then Pacey finds Doug somewhere else in the hospital. Pacey tells him that their dad's ready to see him now.
It
Doug's
looked
like,
like they were kind of outside, but then it kind of
yeah,
looked like, I don't know.
inside at the
Yeah.
same time. Yeah, it was dark. The lights were off. And then Doug's like, did he even ask to see me? And, Pacey's like, well, he's not the king of England or anything. Like, he doesn't,
He
you know what I
knows we're
mean?
both here. Yeah.
Yeah. Because he wants, he's reminding him that visiting hours are almost over. And then they get into about Pacey not really, being there for the family.
Well, and it was funny because like when Pacey was like, well, I'm here, whatever, and Doug goes conveniently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he's been
Um,
taking care of the family for years.
yeah, and then Pacey was like, but you chose that. And it's like, what was he supposed to do?
Mm-hmm.
Did you all? I mean, Pacey, he gave you somewhere to live.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you would have been homeless. And it wasn't because
Yeah.
of Mr. Witter. Yeah, and Mr. Witter wasn't like wanting you to stay. I mean, he took care less. So who are you really mad at?
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't feel like Doug was in the wrong.
Right, me either.
Now, I do feel like he was in the wrong for making Pacey feel like when it can't comes to money. Doug's always like, I think Doug is jealous that Pacey makes more money. I
Mm-hmm.
believe that. So even in this, because it's like it's one thing to be like, you're out of town and stuff like that. But to shove money in Pacey's face
Mm-hmm.
every chance Doug gets, I mean, that is a little annoying. And that's where I do feel he is jealous of him in that point. But the whole taking care of the family, I mean, yeah, Doug does that.
Mm-hmm.
But did you hear what Doug said? Oh,
When?
he told Pacey, he's just like, enjoy it while it lasts, as in dad loving you.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it because that's the whole thing. And like Mr. Witter's like, oh, my son, has money and blah blah. Tomorrow he could be poor.
Yeah.
He could lose everything. So, especially his job. It's not
Mm-hmm.
steady.
Right.
So what are you talking about? Yeah, right. This month he's doing great. Next month he could lose everything. So, it's just kind of, I don't know. Like Mr. Witter is all of a sudden all about money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It seemed like Mr. Witter hated those guys,
Right.
the ones that made money. So
Mm-hmm.
it's weird how he loves Pacey, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so probably like when he gets better, he'll just kind of ignore Pacey again like he was before.
Yeah.
And then we go to the scene where Joey's banging on Harley's bedroom door with Patrick right next to her.
Yeah.
And then she tries to get Patrick to help get Harley to open the door, but of course he has no help at all. And then he starts flirting with Joey again, saying that maybe he needs an older woman who's more settled in her ways, even though Harley and Joey aren't really that much of an age difference. It's like what, like 5 years or so? And then Patrick's 16. And Joey says that if Harley's smart, she'll never talk to him again.
I didn't really care for all that. I feel
And
like it was
then,
too much Harley and Patrick.
yeah. And then, Patrick said that he tried doing the boyfriend and girlfriend thing, but he got too nervous all the time. And Joey said that's just the thing that's supposed to happen. It's endearing. She gives Patrick some advice about never giving up on the chase because that's when, the girl doesn't really have interest anymore because he just stops trying. And she tells Patrick to get out of here because just reminding her of somebody she used to know or somebody she knows. So do you think that was Pacey that she was talking about?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
is this where we go back to the hospital again?
yeah, so she kicks him out and calls him Junior.
Oh, so at the hospital though,
Yeah,
when Pacey, I guess, walks in because it's still well.
in the day.
So I guess visiting hours is coming to an end.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing with that is, it's still sunny outside.
Right, yeah. So the timing
So
was
I
not
was
framed
like,
right, yeah.
I was like, how can it? I mean, when him and Doug were outside talking, it was dark out. But then when they're back inside with the scene, it's the hours are over with, and yet it's
Mm-hmm.
still light outside.
Yeah. I don't know about that because usually it is dark by the time the visiting hours are over.
Hmm. Also, Pacey then says that Doug was the one that paid for, or got the room.
Mm-hmm. Giving
That
him
was
credit,
nice.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because again, I don't know people like that give other people credit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so hopefully that means that things will be better between him and Doug from now on, or at least the moment.
Hmm.
And then Harley does eventually open, well, she unlocked the door at some point, and then that's when Joey just walked in after all that time. And Harley still has her music playing, and she's flipping through a magazine. Joey turns off the music again, and they talk about Patrick and how Joey said that she would never go after Patrick they're friends. Well, she says they're acquainted. She doesn't say they're friends. So first it was friends, now it's acquainted for some reason. They went back, but Joey tells Harley that Patrick wouldn't go after her either, but he was the whole night. So I don't know why she said that. And then she gives her advice about boys and all that. And then Harley asks Joey, like, what if she could tell her younger self anything, what would it be? And then she mentions Eddie again, how it was so easy to talk to him without being scared because choices are made by the motivation by fear when you're young. And just to take a deep breath and forgive yourself for yesterday's mistakes, she tells her.
Which is weird because she talked a lot when she was with Dawson and Pacey.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so let's move on from them.
Okay.
Let's go to Dawson and Pacey.
Okay.
You
Because
didn't
he
like their
gets to that.
scene?
No, I'm just looking at my notes because I have to scroll down a little bit. Yeah, so Pacey gets to Gail's house. He was there to see her about the repairs.
It was so cute because he was just checking in on Gail.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dawson's like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "Aw," because okay, like watching this a second time, I definitely forgot that they even had this 5-minute scene.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yes,
was
the kind.
nice and enjoyable, but at the same time, I
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Oh my God, we're going back to season 3, where Dawson has no idea that Pacey and Joey are hanging out
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
that they're talking about being more than friends."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Dawson's like, cool, we're cool, but it's like you're only cool because you think that they're not together.
Right.
Again,
Mm-hmm.
we're going back to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they catch each other up on, Pacey and his dad, and then Dawson, Mr. Gold's class, and all that.
hmm I just thought it was sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dawson invites Pacey in.
Yeah, so you think that would be when Pacey would mention Joey, but of course we don't see that, so who knows?
Well, I mean, what are you gonna say? Remember the iffy girl? She can't make a decision. Yeah, we're talking about being together. I mean, what are you supposed to say? Joey hasn't like for sure said yes,
Right.
so I get it. Then Joey calls him Pacey.
Yep. But I guess since he's with Dawson, he doesn't answer, so she leaves a message on his phone.
Which doesn't he have a cell phone?
He should, yeah.
Um, I don't know. Maybe Pacey
Unle-
didn't answer it because it would have said Joey, and he's
Unless
with
he like,
Dawson.
yeah, unless he like left it in his car.
Yeah, and that was it.
Yeah, but she just said how they should be, figuring it out together and not alone, separately. So
Yeah,
hopefully
but I
things will
think she needs to figure it out because he already knows what he wants,
right.
which is her. So
Mm-hmm.
again, we're going back to season 3 where she couldn't make her mind up. So it's like, you're the one that needs to sit with it, not Pacey.
Mm-hmm.
He's known since season 1. So get it together, Joey. So what was your high and low?
Um, the low was Doug and Casey arguing, and the high was things finally getting at least things being nice at the moment with Pacey and Dawson at the end. Yours?
My low was the whole Patrick of it all.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't care for him. I mean, he was a lot in the episode. Um, and then so was my low. My high was the beginning with Pacey and Joey. I mean, hello, they're my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
They make every scene that they're in perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, what would you rate it?
I'm like a 7.
Really? Okay, so I was gonna go with that too, but the beginning, I gotta give the beginning a whole extra point. So I'm gonna go with 8 because Pacey
Okay.
and Joey made it an 8.
Mm-hmm.
And even throughout the episode, they were still thinking of each other. Remember, he was trying to call her, she tried to call him. So they're still thinking about each other. It's like
Mm-hmm.
they didn't forget that part. So that was nice to
Yeah.
watch too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then yeah, who's your best and worst?
Well, it was really a tie between Doug and Patrick because they were both pretty bad. But I was thinking, because I know Patrick's probably not going to show up again after this, so I'm gonna go with Doug. I think he was just a little too hard with, not at the beginning, but later on, he was too hard with, Pacey, and he was trying to be there for their dad, and
Because they wouldn't let it go.
yeah. And then the best is Pacey because he was the bigger person in this, you know, and he did get his dad the private room that I think, was better for his dad. And he just, he didn't, because he could have just went home when Doug was doing that with him, at the beginning, but instead he stayed. And, like he said, he picked up on Gia at the end too. So that was nice.
And once again, though, Pacey did leave for Doug to take care of their dad.
Yeah.
Um, so for me, the worst, I'm going with Patrick.
Okay.
I could not stand him. Um, and then my best was Pacey because again, he gets all the credit for even showing up to the hospital after everything his dad has done. Because if it was me, bye bye,
Hmm.
never gonna talk to you again. Like I would have cut you out of my life. So that's why Pacey was the best. And he got his own room and basically paid for a lot, I'm sure. So all
Yeah.
right, and then what's the next episode?
Episode 17, Sex and Violence. So,
All right, thanks for listening.
yep. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Duo Chat. If you want to chime in with your opinion about the episode and the show we discussed, you can email us at duochatpodcast@gmail.com. And to keep up with updates about the podcast, you can follow us at Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Duo Chat Podcast. And give us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We would really appreciate it.